opportunities. We look forward to your engagement throughout the day. So once again, thank you all for joining us. Before we begin, there are a few technical notes. This is a Zoom webinar, so this portion of the conference will be recorded. So if you're not comfortable with that, we also understand. But it's being recorded for others to view who are not in attendance today on our YouTube channel. If you have any questions, please drop them in the Q&A feature. We'll be taking questions from the audience at the end, and you can select the questions to be anonymous if you so choose to. We will go over attendance and evaluation and prizes at the end of this session, and I'll provide the link and the QR code to the evaluation and the attendance. And once again, thank you all for joining us. Without further ado, I'm going to introduce Dr. Davenport. He is the Vice President of Student Affairs. He continues to emphasize and create support for men of color on this very campus of Worcester University. So please join me in welcoming Dr. Zeb Davenport.
Good morning. Thank you, Mallory. Good morning, and I would say welcome to the Brothers of Excellence Conference 2021, theme being strength and unity, and as Mallory said, strength in numbers, and as Mallory said, love and unity. First, I'd like to thank everyone who was involved for making this conference happen today, the staff in the Dowdy Multicultural Center, as well as other staff across campus, students, both graduate and undergraduate, and all of our panelists who are here today, speakers and participants in the conference. I know I only have a couple of seconds, but I do want to say this. The theme, strength in numbers, says it all. And as Mallory has already indicated, the old adage that says, united we stand and divided we fall. So as we stand united, I would just ask you to remember this. There may be times as we go through life that we might feel discouraged. And when we think about what's happening in our society today, we might even experience some disease, not disease, but dis-ease. And if we're not careful, there may be times that we might even become disillusioned. But my exhortation to all of us is to stay dedicated to our dreams, devote ourselves to what is right, remain diligent and determined. And I can assure you that we will experience better days ahead. I often say to folks that the more you put into something, the more you get out of it. So I would ask you to pour yourself into this conference, get what you can get so that you can go from here and make this place a better place, right? And so I pray that as you participate, you will have a great experience. Again, I want to thank you all for all you're doing, the staff who's involved, and most importantly, those who showed up to participate in the conference. I pray you have a great experience. Thank you very much for being here, and thank you for this time.
Thank you, Dr. Zeb Davenport, for those words. Rodney McLeod is one of the top safeties in the NFL and was instrumental in helping lead the Philadelphia Eagles to a Super Bowl title in 2017. During this past offseason, Rodney signed a multi-year deal with the Eagles to continue to lead their defense and served again as a team captain for the 2020 NFL season. Prior to joining the Eagles, Rodney played for the Rams after a stellar collegiate career at UVA. Now I would like to introduce the keynote conversation speaker, Rodney McLeod. Rodney has also been the forefront of several important community initiatives, such as voter registration, education, and social justice. Since 2018, Rodney has been a leading member of the Eagles Social Justice Leadership Council to help continue the conversation on important social issues. Alongside his wife, Rodney launched the Change for Our Future Fund, which focuses on educational empowerment, community issues, and raising money for cancer research. Additionally, during this past season, Rodney was the Week 2 NFLPA Community MVP and the Eagles nominee for the prestigious Walter Payton NFL Man of the Year award. Welcome, Rodney McLeod. First, I would like to now introduce Dr. Demetrius Jaggers, who serves as the Senior Director of WCU's Dowdy Multicultural Center, and Jameer Mallory, who serves as the Graduate Assistant at the Dowdy Multicultural Center. They will facilitate the keynote conversation with Rodney McLeod. We're excited to have them in conversation today.
So again, thank you, Rodney, for for joining us today. We have a few questions that we would like to ask you, and then we will leave some time for the audience at the end to ask you some questions. And Dr. Jaggers, can you start with the first question, please?
Yes, good afternoon once again to everyone who was joining us, and we are looking forward to a great conversation. So, Rodney, if you can just start by telling us about your path to the NFL.
Hey, how's everybody doing this morning? First, want to say good morning and thank you for having me at the 5th Annual Brothers of Excellence Conference this year. Very excited to be here with all of you gentlemen and maybe any women, who are also listening in. But yeah, I think a little background about myself. I grew up in the Washington, D.C., Maryland area, predominantly Prince George's County, Maryland. And so that's where, my path to the NFL, kind of began. I would say, my path to the NFL was challenging. It consisted of, hard work, dedication, perseverance, relentless pursuit, and a great support system around me. These attributes, that I kind of mentioned, I now live by daily and kind of made them a part of my everyday life. And so each has contributed to my success and allowed me to stand here today as a 9-year NFL veteran who was undrafted in 2012 and had the opportunity to bring Philadelphia's first Super Bowl in history. And so, my path started when I decided to go to DeMatha Catholic High School. I went to a very competitive school, and it was the best of the best in sports and within the classroom. And I think that alone kind of tells you a lot about, myself and who I am and how, I wanted to insert myself into an environment that would be challenging for me on a consistent basis. I attended public school all of my life up until that point, and it kind of was my mother's decision, but at the end of the day, it was the right one. It was one that I needed in order for me to succeed and put myself in position to be where I am today. So I'm very grateful for that. I would work, tireless hours, honestly, on my craft, my game during the summer with teammates, always striving to get better and to be the best ultimately. I think anyone who's played sports, the goal is always to be the best, whether it's you as an individual or you collectively as a team. We're always looking to be recognized as one of the elite and the best. So, with that mindset, I understood that, nothing in life will kind of be handed to me, that I would have to work for everything. Nothing would be given. I had to go out and earn it. And I think my mom instilled that in me at an early age, just as a Black man in society, understanding, our place in a sense, and that you have to go above and beyond. You can't settle for mediocrity. You have to, the margin of error is very small for you. So you have to make sure that you are your best at all times. And so I have lived by that, what was instilled in me in the early age. So after I received a full scholarship to the University of Virginia. I had multiple accolades in high school, but that allowed me to receive a full scholarship where I played all 4 years at Virginia. I graduated with a sociology degree, and I experienced a lot throughout my time at Virginia. Another one of those institutions that was vigorous in the classroom, but also allowed me to get a chance to fulfill my dreams. And I experienced a lot, highs and lows, all kind of, helped me and made me who I am today. I battled two knee injuries, back-to-back seasons, one my sophomore year, where I was fortunate enough not to miss any time, and then another my junior year, where, as a player who's looking to be in the NFL, they say your junior season is probably one of your more important years. And I was out at the start of the season and missed a significant amount of time. And so that was very discouraging for me. It now maybe lessen my chances of reaching the NFL. And so there was so much doubt I think I had, throughout that season, where my life would end up. And so I kind of, talked to myself and told myself my senior year, I just made a commitment and said, I'm going to go out and focus on each game and leave it all out there, control what I can control and see where I end up. And I would say I had a very good senior year. And I was now hopeful that my dreams would come true. I would say, however, that didn't happen the way that I envisioned. I think when I dreamed of going into the NFL or being in the NFL, you always dream of hearing your name called during the draft and, your parents congratulating you, your friends, everyone, hugs and kisses and, talking about how you sacrificed so much to get here. But that wasn't the case. I went through that day, all 7 rounds. My name was never called. And so I go into now this process after the draft where, you might be considered a priority free agent and, teams are calling you. And I had calls, throughout the day during the draft saying, we're trying to get you. We want you. We like you. But nobody pulled the trigger. Nobody thought I was good enough, honestly, in my eyes. And so after numerous of calls came by with teams, I decided to go to the St. Louis Rams. They afforded me the opportunity and gave me a chance. Now, I would be lying if I said I wasn't upset. I did have, I was unsure of my future again, being put in that place. And I was down on myself, I think, for a couple of days because my vision and the way I saw things didn't come true. But I had to quickly shift my mindset and really just focus on the positives. Many aren't given a chance at the NFL. Very few play this game at this level, I think 1%. And so for me to dwell, on the past or decide to give up or complain or look for empathy, that wouldn't get me anywhere. So I decided to go in and just make the most of what was given to me. And that's what I did every single day of my rookie year there. When I entered camp, I showed how valuable I was, and I made it tough on them not to get rid of me and force them into some tough decisions. And so I couldn't let, my family down. I couldn't go a day and say I didn't give it my all and that I let a day go past without me being the best version of myself. So I went out and I was fortunate enough to make the team, made the 53-man roster as an undrafted rookie and played special teams my entire first year there. I don't think I may have clocked 2 or 3 defensive snaps. And then my second year, I was actually able to working towards a starting role where I haven't looked back, and I've been starting since. And I entered the league in 2012. And now, like I said, I'm coming up on year 10. I just finished my 9th season. I've had the opportunity to be awarded a few, nice size contracts. Came over to Philadelphia as a free agent, and man, I won a Super Bowl my second year here. So I would say things worked the way that they were supposed to. My vision for the NFL wasn't what I thought it would be, but I'm here. I'm thankful and I'm blessed.
Thank you for your heartfelt message. Thank you so much for that. So moving on to the next question, when you hear the phrase strength in numbers, I'm just wondering, what does that mean to you?
Yeah, so I think, when I hear strength in numbers, and I know that is the theme of this conference, there is power behind numbers. One is not good enough, but I think a group has a greater influence than one individual. I think the late Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. said there's power in unity and power in numbers. And so, when you form a group or bring multiple individuals together, this brings upon and encourages a sense of unity and togetherness. And I think, commonly, like, all geared towards one common goal, an objective or purpose, kind of all in that time. And when you have something like that, this gives you like that power. You move as one with good intentions, and knowing that, with this unit, you guys are like stronger together. Your voice and your message and everything that you stand for, like, just reflects so much more. And so in unity, unity is strength. Nothing is accomplished alone in life. Everyone needs and relies on someone. And so why not, that someone be multiples of people? I think, when I think of my situation as a leader on this team, NFL team, and I've been a captain at every level, at the high school level, college, and now the pros. And one thing is, there on a team, there are a lot of individuals, right, that make up this team, individuals from all sorts of backgrounds, with all different skill sets. And it really means nothing if we are all focused on just our own individual wants or goals. I think the biggest thing when you think about a team and team success is, how can you get everyone like together, and have that chemistry and be able to build and form that brotherhood and things of that nature that all contribute to you being successful, that team being successful. Because one thing I recognized when we won the championship, it was that, man, all 53 men who were on that roster, for each game, moved as one. We all had the same intent. We all had the same focus. We wanted the same goals, and all of that was needed in order to conquer success and to do it at the highest, which was, hold the Lombardi Trophy. So, when I think of the strength in numbers and how we were faced with so much that year, but we were never discouraged because, we all together believed and had that faith. And when you all see it the same, and you believe in one another, man, you can do anything you kind of put your mind to, and energy and focus towards. So that's kind of what I think when I hear, strength in numbers.
So thanks so much for that, Rodney. So the next question we want to kind of talk about is really related to kind of how you got involved or decided to get involved with activism and social justice work. So can you talk a little bit about what inspired you and kind of what your thought process was as you decided to, take your voice, as an NFL player, and also, entrepreneur, and really get involved in some of the things or that you saw happening in a community?
Yeah, I think one of the reasons why I got involved, I think, had to do with the Malcolm Brown incident when I was in St. Louis. It rubbed me the wrong way. It rubbed a lot of us on the team the wrong way. And I think, society in general, the reaction to what we all witnessed was hard to digest and to take in, and to think that, we're still living in this world today where a lot of these acts are still taking place, and why is that? And so that kind of was my first spark, I think, in wanting to get out and do something. But how could I do that? And I really didn't know at that time when I was in St. Louis. I wanted to go out and protest and be in the streets. In the moment that I wanted to, our PR team is saying, it's a risk. It's too dangerous for you to go out during that time. And I felt as though, man, like these are my people. I've lived in St. Louis, and now at that time, 3-4 years, and I adopted that as my own. And so it hurt me to see, my brothers and sisters going through that and me not being a part. And so I felt like that was a missed opportunity, but I didn't have any sort of direction in how to get involved elsewhere. So when I came over to Philadelphia, I was able to connect with, now a brother of mine and a guy I consider a mentor, and that was Malcolm Jenkins. And I saw just how he was very vocal about a lot of the social injustice that exists in our country, and what he was doing and how he was doing it. But I think what was more evident to me was the support that he had from our owner, Jeffrey Lurie. And that gives you that power that you're kind of seeking for as a player, that validation that what I'm doing is okay, it's right. It's not going to be frowned upon or looked a certain way. They're not going to remove me from this organization because I'm speaking out on what I believe in. And I think once I understood that and saw that, I latched on and said, man, like, how can I be a part? And that's when, he formed, the Players Coalition, him and Anquan Bolden, and I jumped on board and just got involved and wanted to learn more about how I can help my people. And so that's kind of where my journey took place and started to begin, and I started to kind of come into my own. Of course, with his departure, I took a greater role, this year, and kind of being that voice, but just understanding that just as an NFL player, man, like, we have a role and responsibility. So many people look up to us. We're examples to, a 7-year-old kid. We're an example to that senior in high school. We're an example to that junior who's in college, watching highlights or watching, what we do of his favorite player, or just that, 40-year-old man who's just a fan. And when I think about the influence that we have and how we're so highly regarded and respected in society, like, I would be doing a disservice if I didn't, speak up on these issues and kind of show the way, especially for the younger generation, guys who are coming up, below me, is, man, like, a guy like, Rodney McLeod is my favorite athlete, but man, he stands for so much more than that. Like, he's more than just that helmet. He's more than just a jersey. He's involved in his community. He's giving back. He's touching people. He's impacting and changing the world. He wants to see the world a better place. Like, he stands up for, the Black community, and fighting for our rights and our respect and dignity. And then he's also a businessman. Like, how does he do it all? But I want to be that, because man, football is not forever. You know, it's temporary. It's just a stop on the way in life. And, you know, you can be afforded to play 1 year, you could be afforded to play 10, but it's what you do with the time that you're given when you have this stage, because not many have this voice and are able to amplify it in a way that a lot of us can. So we have to speak on behalf of our community, and people, other, you know, sports figures have done it before us. I think now in this time that we're living in, you know, we understand how we have the power to really seek change and get things done. You know, you see people on Capitol Hill, you know, fighting for legislation, like guys are taking it to that level. We have examples of that. And so I think when we show that, we just show the actual power that lies amongst us players, and that, like I said, we have to continue to be the voice and do what's right. And then if we do that, so many others are going to follow.
Thank you again for answering that question like with deep detail. To follow up, you started to answer a little bit, but I just want to ask you, why do you think it's important to use your platform to talk about injustices like in the communities?
Yeah, I think, you know, some of the reasons I just said, but you know, the influence that a lot of us athletes have, and the reach that we're able to capture, I think is like the biggest thing. And like I said, being just that example, and when you're in the NFL, you have a large body of audience, you know, around you. And the NFL is now starting to do a better job at allowing us to have more of a voice and stand behind its players and support us with a lot of and a lot of the work that we are doing for injustice, I think. And so that alone is able to just, you know, reach so many people in this world. And then the effect that has, you know, you think about a child in his living room watching a game, and then he sees, you know, a Russell Wilson or somebody come on and talk about, you know, what he did this summer, and him, you know, protesting or how, you know, the world, you know, we need to have this world a better place, and there needs to be equal rights and equality for all. And, you know, that's changes, starts to change the narrative and the cycle that's existed and the mentality of a lot of people. And maybe it sparks a conversation within a home that leads to, you know, them having now a different mindset and how they once thought about Blacks, or them wanting to get involved and get out at some point in their lives. So I think we just have that we have that duty, and we have that responsibility as players to continue to drive these messages and be the voice for so many who are without. We know, you know, as Blacks, our voices are often suppressed and unheard, and so majority of the league is represented by, you know, Blacks. And so, like I said, we have to make sure we continue to fight, because if we don't fight, who's going to fight for us? And so we have to be at the forefront at all times, and we have to live what we preach. And so I am encouraged by what I see from a lot of my peers around the league. Guys are stepping up and stepping out, and this is all across sports, man. It's a movement, and it's great to see that it's reached that many people. And so we just have to continue to drive the message, man, and let this extend down to the college level and to the high school level, and knowing that, you know, what's going on in our world, people need to recognize it and see it. And we all need to, you know, figure out a way to create change.
So we're just wondering, how do you take care of yourself, especially like as you're involved in the community, playing football? Like, are there certain activities that are part of like your routine? We're just wondering, how do you take care of yourself?
So I found a balance kind of in my life. It's hard, it's challenging with everything that I do, but I feel as though balance is key. Making sure I stick to a schedule. Us as athletes are very regimen driven, but a few things that I make sure I do on a consistent basis is, eat well, that's, my diet, and adding, Pilates into my life, which is great for, strengthening mobility, yoga as well, even from a therapeutic standpoint, just kind of meditation and stretching and reading to educate myself on what's going on out here, making sure I put that into my schedule, and of course working out, staying fit, and making sure that I'm physically ready, and making sure my body is my temple, it's my engine, it's my everything. So for me, a lot of what I do surrounds keeping my body in shape, keeping my body at a high level to be able to compete. And then, outside of that, when it comes to things outside of football, like I said, reading and meditation surrounding yoga, or yeah, and that's kind of really about it. Things that I kind of do on a consistent basis to make sure like I have a good balance, I think, overall in my life.
Okay, thank you, thank you. So we have about two more questions before we open up for the Q&A for the audience. So one question we have: what advice do you have about making sure we're always connected to our communities and our brothers?
Yeah, I think staying connected to both your community brothers are key. It's important that everyone has a sense of community presence in their lives. Having ties to the community allows you to feel a part of something greater. Tapping in with your brothers, and now that it's a responsibility we all should accept. And I think you should have a certain mentality about that. Is it's a mindset to leave no man behind, right? And the Army talks about this, in military, they reference this a lot. It's like when they get in battle with their brothers, it's we're not going to leave anyone left out on that field. The last man will come out standing and with us, regardless of what happens. And I think we all should have that same regard for one another. And I think when you think about that, it's now this brotherhood, this tribe, this circle of trust that you created, and you want to make sure that you keep that network and tribe tight. And how do you do that is through relationship building and making sure you stay in tune with one another, because these relationships and bonds that you form will often last a lifetime. So it's up to you as men, as a brother, to make a choice to continue to challenge, guide, help one another throughout different stages of your life, because people are going to go through different phases. Everybody's journey is going to be different, but everybody will at some form just need someone to lean on, or have a question. And so I think it's important that we all make sure that we stay connected. Like the men that some of my best friends today were started, and our relationship formed at DeMatha. We have a phrase that we live by called one Dematha. And that just means, man, that is a symbolization of a brotherhood. And any time or any moment that I recognize someone is from Dematha, I will go above and beyond to support, to lend out a hand, to help, whatever it is. That's just what we've established there. And I can speak and hold true and say that one thing that you always hear someone reference if they talk about my high school is, man, the brotherhood there, the brotherhood, the brotherhood. And so I live and stand by that. And like I said, this tribe that I formed, at a young age, now those gentlemen or men were a part of, my wedding, some of my best friends. We do business together. We consult with one another, whether it's about relationship advice or whether, it's business advice, whatever it might be, we just have that dialogue and that conversation, and we force one another to be better. And I contribute a lot of my success to those guys for being a great support system for me, but also challenging me, and we keep one another on our P's and Q's. So I think it's just always important to stay connected to those that you have formed a great relationship and bond with, to continue to grow and flourish that brotherhood that you've created.
Okay, so last question before we start the Q&A. As a person that has been involved in the community, what do you think the world needs now to take that next step?
Good question. So I would say, as a man who is involved in the community myself, that does a lot of work, a lot of what we have decided to do with our foundation is focus on the youth and understanding that they really have the power to change what is happening today. And one of the things that we've done recently is we've empowered them. We've allowed them to express themselves and just listen to them and hear about their concerns. And it was very eye-opening. And we're talking about kids who are younger than the men on this phone, that they're so aware of what's going on in society. I think a lot has to do probably with social media, but they're very in tune, and they are very concerned. And so they have thoughts and ideas on how they see change, right? Or what they want to see change in, or what areas or social issues have impacted them, whether it's, family or they've experienced it personally. So we're doing, this sort of 60 seconds of change where we're trying to identify these game changers within the community, or if they see themselves as a game changer. But I say all that to say that, we need more individuals like you guys on this call, who's listening in, the men and women out there, to your generation. You guys need to continue to to research, to prepare, to strategize, to recruit, to educate, speak out, and then get involved. Don't wait until it's too late, until you're 30 to say, man, I want to see change. It's get it done now. Why wait? Start making that difference right now. And if we can get you guys and your peers today to think about those neighborhoods that you grew up in, and focus on ways to make it better, I think we will begin to reform this world in a way that we all envision it. So my challenge kind of to you all is, each of you men here today, don't wait, start now. once you all, are successful in your own individual careers, never forget about your community and where you come from. And at the end of the day, man, strive to be that game changer in every aspect of your life. So I think all in all, it's going to start from the men on this in this conference today, and then also trickle down to the youth at being those world changers, those leaders of tomorrow. You guys are in those positions to do that, and you guys are very aware of what's going on. So I would just challenge all of you now to get involved, do more, and start to form those groups of individuals who are like-minded, who have that same drive and purpose as you, that want to change this world and make it a better place.
All right. Well, again, thank you for those responses, and we do have at the moment a couple questions in the chat, so we're gonna go ahead and go to the chat to get those questions. So one question says, "Good morning, Rod. Thanks for utilizing your platform to spread awareness and fight for a better society and keep holding it down in the secondary. With that being said, how big do you think just educating people in general on social justice, true Black history, and diversity will have impact in the way our society changes in the near future?"
Yeah, I think that plays a huge role. I think education, I think a lot of people just don't know or are unaware of where we've come from, or where we've come from as African Americans, our like evolution and how we arrived to where we are today, and why we feel the way we do. I think a lot of it is people just not being informed, but also I would say not also people not wanting to believe what we're saying are true, um, or a willingness to listen, a willingness and openness to kind of change your heart and mindset behind the way that people think. So I think it is important that we all continue to educate, but that there is some form of education that is represented within the school system, to teach about this Black history to not only the non-African American students, but I think us as African Americans as well. We have to understand, more about where we come from, myself included. I'm still, a student right now, learning more each and every day. And I think a lot comes from our ancestors and my elders kind of, telling me things that they experienced, but also, now becoming more knowledgeable, reading books, or, Google is a great resource that we all have access to, the internet. And so I think we all have to just utilize it all. We have to continue to have those tough conversations with our peers of different races about what's happening, and continue to speak out about how you feel. But I think education is at the forefront of that, and should be a focal point for us as a nation, in order to improve and see the change that we all destined for.
All right, thank you. So the next question says, you said that you're an entrepreneur. What types of entrepreneurship are you involved in? And is anyone currently inspiring you to do more with your community? Or would you say you're a self-motivated individual?
Yeah, so currently I opened up my own shop called Back of House in 2017. We opened up, it's a men's streetwear boutique store, kind of focused on middle to high end fashion brands. We currently wholesale, and we have a few items of our own that we produce. And so, that kind of just came from my passion surrounding fashion, and wanting to put my own insert myself in and put my own kind of mindset into the fashion space and bring my thoughts and creativity to it. And so I'm also involved with a fashion series called Style So Separately. One of my partners is Malcolm Jenkins, and we're just we've created that space to be able to highlight and focus, on NFL players, particularly learning who guys are, behind the mask, I guess you would say, and kind of doing it with the focal point on fashion. And so looking forward to releasing that and coming out with a new season. And I think I am kind of self-motivated, but there are like a lot of individuals that I have, looked up to. I think, Jay-Z, and you think of the P. Diddy's when it comes to Black figures who are well-versed and doing more than just music. And they're talking about entrepreneurship and they're great examples to kind of follow. So I would say those two. And, I spoke about him earlier, Malcolm Jenkins, a guy who's well-versed and doing a lot himself. So those three alone, I think, kind of, inspired me.
Thank you. So we have another question. As a Black man, how do you find the balance between knowing when to speak up and knowing when to bide your time? Especially as an activist, there are all types of things trying to stifle and quiet our voices. How do we tread that line without losing ourselves?
Yeah, I think you have to, the first thing or the last thing you said is understanding who you are and what is your passion, what is your focus. You can't change everything. And I feel like we all struggle with that. There's so much to fix and you want to be involved in so much, but that alone is overwhelming. And, it's just unrealistic. And I think in order to get the most out of what we want to accomplish, we have to focus on, maybe two or three things. And so that's how I take my approach and stance on a lot of things. It's, what am I most passionate about? What, how can I give my all into this in order to really affect the change that I want? Because if I have my hands in too much, I'm not going to be able to devote that time, energy, and commitment that's needed, that's properly needed in order to make those things happen. So I would say that is one thing. And I think in general, being in the position and addressing a lot of these issues, I mean, you have to be brave, you have to be courageous, you have to be fearless. And I had to get over that and not worrying necessarily about who I offend and like where that's going to position me. We're in a world today where it's front and center, and we can no longer, stand by and just stand down and be in silence, because silence is compliance. And I think, we all have to, as African-American men, have to speak out and do what is right at the end of the day. If you believe it's right, address it. So that's my mindset and where I kind of stand on this. Honestly, I went through a period of time where I was fearful of the consequences of what would happen, but I think I was really just in my own head. And like I said, like I spoke about earlier, I have a duty and responsibility to so many, and so I just want to be able to be that voice and do what's right.
So we do have a couple more minutes. I wanted to ask you a follow-up question just about what your experience has been like, being on the front lines and being in Philadelphia during protests and activism. What impact has that had on you, and what have you learned from being, in the space with other activists and organizers?
Yeah, it's been very moving for me to be able to experience everything that I have and be, I guess, considered a activist, and people have the regard for me the way that they do when it comes to this space now. It's an honor, but I hate that I have to do it, right? I mean, you think about all the leaders that we had that came before us and what they spoke about and how we have grown and progressed, but it's still is not enough. And we're still fighting the same fight that, they once spoke about. We're still in the streets marching and protesting about, police brutality and equal rights. And you're just thinking, like, when does it end? Even though this is something that I will be proud to tell my kids that I stood up for what is right, and you should, and this is example, and my wife included. And we try to make this world a better place. I am fearful that them too will be in our shoes once again at some point. So as much as I've learned, a lot. Like I said, I've educated myself. I've come a long way in making sure that I'm informed about certain things. I've learned a lot in this, and I think this, I would say, 5-year span since I've kind of been on this this journey. But I am, I would say, one thing that I am, encouraged about is the fact that, nowadays you see a more diverse, crowd who is fighting for what is right and comparable to where we were in, 1950s. And, all it was, a line full of African Americans marching. And now you see, Blacks, whites, Asians, you see it all kind of forming and fighting for justice and equal rights. So that leaves me encouraged, but still so much needs to be done in order for reform to really take place.
So that is all the time we have for today for this Keynote conversation. I just wanted to thank you again for joining us today. It means so much to us for you to take time out of your busy life, busy schedule to host this conference with us. So once again, we want to say thank you. So for everyone who are in attendance, I will be dropping the agenda for the rest of the day here in the chat. So if you guys want to attend the next session, that starts 11:15. Workshop 1, No More Excuses, Giving and Getting Our Best in Relationships, facilitated by Mike Burwell. The link is added here in the chat, and I will also be adding the evaluation link as well. 1 second. Oh, here we go. The chat as well to fill us out. With this, when you sign in, I'll share my screen.